Hi guys, Reaper here, thanks for tuning in. So in this video I'm going to go over the NCO core available to the Slasher 2, which is a tier 10 Interceptor. This core's available from the LP or Loyalty Point store, which you can obtain via completing faction warfares to obtain the points needed to purchase and unlock this pretty awesome core. So I'm going to go over how expensive it is to scale up this core, how many Concord points you're going to need to respec to get the exact stats that you want and boost them up. To do so, you're going to need many of these different things. The thing that costs the nanocores is the Cloud AI Learning Bank 3, which is 5,000 Concord points. Each respec requires 20 of the Cloud AI Learning codes, which are 250 Concord points each, so that's 5,000. You can't use real money or in-game ISK to purchase Concord points. They're only available from what you're allotted each month during the Concord Pass, so they are technically locked behind an everything wall, which I find crazy when you find out how many Concord points you're going to need in this video. So let's crack on with this. Could be a little guide for some people that first time looking through a core. So when you equip the core, you've got 3 options to start with. You pick an option, then you tap on the little fingerprint icon, and you get the max particular attribute for the first roll of the dice, so to speak. And then when you go through the secondary, tertiary, all the other attributes, it then starts to become more of a chance thing, and we'll go through that into more detail in a second. So I'm not too worried about the color scheme I'm going to go with here, but again, you can literally customize pretty much everything on the ship, and I find that pretty cool. So I'm just going to roll with this for the time being, and then we can come out of this window and then we'll go back in and start to go through some of the attributes. So you can see there at the top, 16.8% Canon DPS. Then we go to the second one, which says training, and you can see down there how many materials are required to unlock every segment that you need to effectively unlock that attribute. It becomes more and more expensive, so the 2 things we're using at the moment, the chips and the banks, are available from the market using Realisk, or of course via many of the missions and packs that you get via everything else in game. So we've got power grid now, and then if you click on the right hand side, you can see you've got 2 attributes available. Here we've only got power grid or capacitor. I'm not bothered about power grid because for anything I'll ever want to fit on the ship, I've got enough to do everything. So I'm respecing now, and down in the bottom left hand corner you can see a little counter to show how many thousand Concord points I'm burning through. So we're at 10,000 now. I've got the power grid at 9.97. I've swapped over now to capacitor at 6.83%. We're up to 15,000 Concord points. Again, that's re-rolled back. Oh, so I think I've got a pretty high hit there on capacitor, so we're good. That's showing that we're max or near max, because 10.50 is the maximum, so 9.97% is pretty much as high as you're going to get. But to go for the maximum, as we're trying to do in this video, I'm going to keep rolling and rolling just to show you how intensive it is to get for the attributes that are actually beneficial to the ship, the maximum roll. So yeah, we're up to 55,000, 60,000 now, and it's just still going and going. So it's just insane how much, how many Concord points we would be using to try and get above this. Whether you guys think it's right or wrong, it's you're welcome to comment below. Personally, I think this is a bit excessive to get the maximum roll. I think if you're spending the Concord points after spending so many, just give me the maximum roll. I shouldn't be punished and have to spend months and months and months worth just to get an extra 0.50%. Does it really matter? Probably not. So I've given up with that one. I've left it at 9.97. I kind of feel like we could be going forever. So again, on this second attribute, the cost to unlock it has gone up, and we can see here we've got a cannon power grid requirement or missile power grid requirement. Neither of these 2 I care about at all. They're not benefiting the ship, so I'm skipping on now to the next, which is going to be hopefully something that does benefit the ship. And what this means is actually to maximize the attributes, considering some of them are not beneficial to this particular build, the amount of Concord points I'll be using in the M run could have been a hell of a lot more. So Here we've got drone tracking speed or cannon tracking speed. Now, for the Slasher 2 Interceptor, I think personally the three most important things are DPS, your tracking speed, and how fast your ship's moving. The ship itself already has the smallest signature radius in the entire game of Eve Echoes at 18 meters, which is much smaller than the Dramiel even. That's what makes this ship so potent. It has it has a great potential, and as I've flown it in the live server, it does speed tank incredibly well. It's really hard to hit, and hopefully I'll be able to bring you some more content with some kind of one-on-ones against other frigates and in general some PvP. But I do know from fairly recently I tackled a Raven on a gate, double webbed it with my kind of standard fit, which I'll show later on, and by the time it got back towards the gate, it was very low structure. So this particular Raven didn't have a fitting on, and my court mate did come in the end to help me blow the thing up, but that just goes to show how much DPS a ship like this can do. So we're now on to drone. I just saw the drone. We've got cannon tracking speed now at 9.22, so we've maxed that. It's only taken 265,000 Concord points. If you think that on average per month, I think you get around maybe 45,000 or 50,000 at a push Concord points. So that's like 6 months worth there just to get to that level of attribute, which I find staggering. So the next one here, we've got cannon range, drone range, or warp speed. Funny how they throw the drone one in there, considering this ship can physically not field a drone. I think it's just it could be, let's at least put something in there to pad it out, or whatever we call this, that's beneficial or will actually do something for the ship. It drives me insane, and I'm sure it drives you guys insane as well. So for this one, cannon range, I'm not too fussed because I'm orbiting and as close as I can. I normally set orbit to 1 kilometer, and if I did have that range, I suppose if I was orbiting out a bit further, then but again, it's not the most important thing. So, but for the purpose of this video, we're gonna keep plowing through. I'm not spending anything on these Concord points, and hell no would I be spending 335,000 and going up, as you can see, Concord points on a ship like this. My Typhoon 2 is another story. That one I have is second to last of the kind of secondary attributes before I can max it out, but it's just got a little bit too expensive for me on the ISK. So as you can see, we're refreshing. The Concord points are going up and up and up. We're at 380,000 now, just insane. And finally, I've got the maximum on the cannon range, so we can progress and go now to the very final of the attributes, which you can see on this radial dial. We have so many segments to get through. As you go through, your percentage chance of success dips down. Every time that we're doing this, we're using 750 of the banks and 775 chips, and 12 of these other things on the right hand side, which also use Concord points, mind you. So really, this video is using a lot more Concord points than you would think, but we're talking more about Concord points only. So you see how many times we're failing here. Upgrade failed. I mean, we're at 58% and it still failed. So yeah, that's really annoying, and that's a hell of a lot of ISK, but we've got there. This is the final attribute, and this is Canon Damage. So for me, this is a really important one. Whether it's damage or whether it's speed, that's personally down to you, but I would say I fly my Interceptor more in a small fleet, maybe for some gate camps. Therefore, the damage to me is more important, and it's what I've gone with generally speaking. But at the end of this video, or towards the end of the video, which is not far, I will show you what a core looks like with maximum DPS, and also what a core looks like with maximum speed and velocity, but also with, of course, some tracking bonuses and a bit more DPS than what you'd have as standard. So yeah, refreshing through all of this now. It's getting a bit boring, but I'm sure we'll get to the to the maximum in a second. But 460, we're almost at 500,000 Concord points to get the desired result here. And one of the attributes that doesn't matter, the power grid requirement ones, is not at the absolute maximum, so this could have been well over 500,000. And also the cannon tracking speed, they're at 9.22%. I'm not quite happy with that because it showed us white on the left-hand list, and it is an important one. And again, 9.9 is the maximum, and I would say out of all of the bonuses on the ship, this is the one I like the most, so I'm going to keep rolling, and I'm going to try and push to get that maximum and see just how much that pushes up the Concord points by. But yet we've breached now 500,000, and I've just given up because I feel like that would have been rolling forever, and we don't have all day. So you can see my DPS here, cold 488, so that's nearly 500 cold DPS without a gyro damage mod in the low slots. This is with my dual prop and a shield booster. So if we look at the actual turret itself, the auto cannon, 1.61 kilometer range and 750 tracking speed. So this thing is tracking faster than pretty much anything in the game with a small size turret. And if we are to swap now my micro warp drive, which for a small gate camp I wouldn't really, I think, need to use because we'd be catching things anyway, for the damage control, then we can kind of see that my DPS at cold now is 521. So that's kind of cruiser level DPS. So I'm going to undock the ship now just to go over what that translates to speed wise as well, and also let's get that module running hot so that we can see what that DPS looks like in addition. So I've taken off my shield booster for the time being, but normally I'd roll with an afterburner, a gyro stabilizer, a small shield booster, as it's pretty cap efficient in the ship and you can run that for 4 or 5 minutes. The double web for dealing with faster ships to, you know, pinpoint them down so you can get orbiting, and the scram. I mean, you could swap a web for a disruptor and have the longer point range, but I'm more worried about coming up against something like a succubus that, if I only had a single web, would probably be able to get away, as it's got a similar speed to me with that afterburner bonus. So yeah, you saw that DPS, 665 hot DPS with a 3241 base speed with the afterburner running is pretty insane. I mean, based on that, if I'm doing this on a DPS build, 3.2 kilometers per second for kind of small fleet stuff for me is sufficient. If I'm solo, I might go dual prop with the shield booster and forget about the gyro. I think if I were to choose, you can see here now I've swapped my core around. I've got the 19% or 20%, let's say, bonus to the velocity with all the other attributes bonusing velocity, and you can see there my base speed is 1,350 meters per second. So for some frigates, that's the kind of speed you'd have with an afterburner running, so that's really quite impressive. So there's two things you could do. You could have a micro warp drive and then 2 webs, get into web range, and then you could, you know, be orbiting things still doing 1.3 kilometers a second, which is about 700, 600 if you're webbed. With your dual webs, they'll be going slower than you, so that could still work. Or you could go with the afterburner, and the afterburner, as you'll see, has 3.7 kilometer per second speeds, which is pretty gnarly. I mean, that's going to be keeping up with a lot of micro warp drive ships, maybe not interceptors, but certainly just about anything else. So that makes this then very, very flexible. Proper good little ship, this. Really, really like it. And I think the charitable thing to do right now would be to grab a hold of this Concord officer and fire a few shells into his hull to see what the outcome is and go down gloriously. I'm just going to approach this Concord police commander right now. We do need to have a look at our micro warp drive. So there you go, almost 8 kilometer per second MWD speeds. Now this Concord commander is burning with, I think, either a really super OP afterburner or maybe a micro warp drive. But would I like to lock onto him? Very, very silly move. Yes, I would. And I'd like to shoot some shells into him and see how much damage I can do. So I'm going to try and get close here. It's a Jove ship. Cool looking. Yeah, you're going to get mullered by me now, or maybe not, as it could be. So I need to make sure I'm within my kind of cannon optimal range of about 1 kilometer. So I think I'm going to use my afterburner to try and keep up with this ship, to see if I can tag along and keep pace. But seems he's going about that speed because I'm not gaining on him, which is quite annoying. It's very difficult to blow yourself up these days in New Eden. So now I'm gaining on him. Yeah, I'm shooting him, so I'm hitting him for 1 damage, 2 damage. That's really nothing when I normally do like 1,000 DPS volley. And there goes the insta-pop. Kabang! I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, guys. I hope it's given you some ideas. Please subscribe for more that follows. Hopefully some PvP in this ship. And thanks very much for watching.